Hi everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to start the final stage of the project for this sprint, the final stage out of two. There's a PDF brief like last time. There's no starting kit because, well, you already started it in the last stage. There's videos. We definitely recommend trying stuff out on your own. It's really important for learning, but also don't feel bad if you struggle and wind up watching videos. But you should definitely be trying things on your own. This is, as I said, the final stage for the sprint. That means that a human will review your project, and they will also review the work that you did in the previous stage. Our first step here is to just uncomment the stage 2 starting code. You may have noticed this in your project. If you go to where you have your project, here's my version. If you go into index.html and scroll down to your right, like below where the header ends, we have this main tag. And this little icon here, you can fold code, which can be helpful for seeing like the overall structure. And see how inside the main tag, we have all this commented stuff. We want to uncomment it. Now this comment we don't need. We can just remove that. All this green stuff, and it stretches all the way down here. This is what we need. And if you hover over all the stuff you need to uncomment, and then type command / or control / if you're on Windows, that will uncomment it. When you do that, make sure to save the file and just make sure that Prettier is working. So you could even like break the formatting and then save it and make sure it's still working, because it's rather common for students to mess this part up. And I'm actually going to show you a couple ways that you can mess it up. So one way would be, oops. So here I have everything selected. Let's say I go one line too far. And now I just hit the command / again. And do you see how it didn't uncomment successfully? It actually just added this character. It got confused. So I'm going to hit command Z to revert that. Another possibility, say you haven't selected everything from the comment and you try to uncomment it. Well, see here, that messed it up too. It just kind of, it's making an offset comment and leaving this thing here. So those are a couple things that you need to keep in mind. And one other thing, you can't nest comments. So if I were to include this comment with the other one and try to uncomment them both at the same time, it would also not work. So got to watch out for that stuff. One other way that you can do it is just by deleting the starting characters for the comment and then going to where the comment ends and deleting those characters also. That's another option. So those are all the many ways to uncomment something. Then go to the style sheet, and it is the same thing. Go down below the header. We can just delete that. And I think here you can just scroll all the way to the bottom and uncomment everything. Okay. So we have some styles already written for us for the section that we're going to be working on. Where do I, right, here's the brief. First section, staff picks. Let's take a look at what we have so far so we can understand what all needs to be done. We'll use go live. And so this section is completed for us. Looks very nice. This section needs some work, obviously. The cards are not in the right placement. You know, they're supposed to be card shaped and in a grid pattern. And there's supposed to be a background image and text colors different, etc. Okay. And here we have some step-by-step, very explicit instructions about how to complete this. And uh, you can certainly follow these instructions, and that would be a great way to give this a try yourself. I'm gonna kind of just go on my own and explain how I would approach something like this. So let's, so here's what we have. And here is, this is from the previous day's task. Here is what we need, what we want. We want one card, then two cards, three cards, four cards, something like that. And the cards have text and a title. And then up here we have the title, and smaller than that is the subtitle. And one thing that we need to be aware of is that they are centered, and there are, of course, some other details going on. The the text up top, I think, is pretty much in the position that it should be in, but yeah, more or less. These are not. Think about how you can do that and give it a try on your own. You've learned how to do this. There's, how to, in fact, you might want to review how it was done in your Sprint Zero project, because remember there was a grid of four cards there also. And remember the brief does give explicit instructions about this. So give that a try. Try and get this layout created, and then unpause the video and I'll start showing you how. Okay, so to produce this layout that we want, Flexbox, which is, there are other ways that we could go about it, but that's the way that I would generally use. And we're going to want to we need to turn the parent of these cards into a flex container. So display flex. Now let me set up the, kind of frame this a little bit. All right. So what we have now is four cards, yeah, in a row, but we need a grid, right? Well, to produce a grid with Flexbox, we can use FlexWrap. FlexWrap wrap. But that doesn't seem to have worked, right? Now we're just back to a column. What's going on there? They're not wrapping the way that we might expect. Well, the way FlexWrap works is, if there is not enough space for the element in a given row, it will wrap it to the next row. But unless we restrict the size, the width of these containers, of these cards, it's just not going to have any effect. It lets them fill up the entire row. So we would need to go to the cards and give a width. It says 360 by 420, and the width is larger than the height, so 360 would be the width. Width 360. See, already that is looking more like it, right? Height 420. Still not working though. Now, one possibility is that I'm at the wrong screen size. That does not seem to be the case. But that was one thing to check because, if the screen is smaller, then maybe there's not enough room for the right amount of cards. And actually here, it's not that there's not enough room, it's that there's too much room. So let's take a closer look here. We've got 360 and 360. We've got the 40 pixel gap in between. I haven't added that yet. We've also got this padding on the left. Remember, we always want to remove that padding on the left, and that can actually produce some issues if we don't remove the padding from the left. So that gets us back to where we have 4 cards in the row. Okay, we're kind of back to where we started, right? Let's get rid of those bullet points because they're a little annoying. So list style type none, but that didn't have any effect. Remember, we need the gap. It was 40 pixels. Okay, so we're still at this point where we have 3 in uh, in the first row. And the reason for that is that's just how many fit. Like you can see how 1 fits, 2 fits, 3 fits, and the 4th one does not fit. So if we want only 2 to be in there, we got to make it so that only 2 fit. That's what this max width is here for. Max width 768, and we'll do it on this container is the one that we would do it on, I believe. The same container, the staff picks. I haven't given it a class yet. I'm just styling the UL in the browser for convenience. So yeah, like that. Now it's of course not centered. There are various ways we could do that. One way would be margin 0 auto. There we are. Looking pretty good. Let's go and translate this stuff into, can I copy? Yep, into VS Code so we do not forget. So one of the first tasks that the brief has you do is pick a class name. I believe we say staff cards. Let me look at the brief, see what it says. Staff cards. Give it the staff cards class with an S, like so. That's going to go on the UL, the one that I've been styling in the browser. So we got to find that UL. So it's after the event section. This one, class staff cards. What else did we do? I added some dimensions to the card. I think that might have been all that was done. Card, width 360, height 420. I think that was it. Let's look in the browser again. All right, seems pretty good. Now, what about sizing? We are supposed to have, this isn't marked, so we can just assume that it's already done. It's supposed to be 68 pixels between this text and this text down here. Not enough here. We don't have enough space, so there needs to be a 68 pixel gap. We already did the 40 pixels, so that's good. So let's put this gap in, make the color white as it is supposed to be. So we can do, one thing that we could do if we wanted, we could just give color white to the block, and then it will apply to its children elements. Although if we do that, I think it's going to make yeah, we can't do that. See what happens? So that won't work. Not unless we then change the card styles to not be white. So we're not going to do that. We won't give it to the staff element or the staff cards element. We'd wind up with the same issue. We'll give it to the title and the subtitle individually. Now, how do we give the appropriate margin to this element? Think about that and then write the appropriate margin. Hopefully you're starting to remember that we need to remove default margins. And in this case, if we need 68 pixels below, then we need to reset the top to 0. Because here you see we've got the 24 already in place below the staff title. And I'm just going to move this rule down below here so it follows the order in the HTML. Back to here. text is not visible now because we need to put the background image in, no problem. There's one other thing here. Take a look and you should notice that there's one other issue that we have aside from the background image, and that is this text is not supposed to be right up underneath the, the bottom of the cards. And I believe we have a note in here explaining how to do this. Yes, to ensure that the text content is arranged correctly, add margin top auto to the footer of the card. Okay, so let's take a look at that. The card footer, margin top auto, and you see how it basically pushed the footer of the card down as far as it could go. That's how margin top auto works, but only if you're inside a flex container. If we were not in a flex container, that margin top auto would not work. But it's very useful at times. Margin top auto, margin bottom auto, same thing. Margin left and right auto, which I've already used here to center. When you use both of them, it pushes, so it centers it. For the left and right automatic margins, you do not need to be in a flex container. That's just how it is. I'm not sure why. Okay, background image. We can find the appropriate image in the images directory and then play around with various background image properties to try and get it to look right. All right, let's do the background image first. We could look in the images directory, but we don't even need to because VS Code will help us see all the possibilities. Background image, we need // so that we can step out of the styles directory, then images, then which one? Oh yeah, down here, staff picks background. Let's look in the browser. Well, okay. So it looks pretty good actually, but it's not exactly the way that it looks in the image. So note that there's this guy on a couch and he's half cut off. And we can see this text here, which is a part of the image. So how can we get this to work? Let's see. Let's try and play around with some properties, which is often how you have to do this. If you ever see the text gets italicized, you then won't be able to change it. So you got to just refresh the page. I'm not sure why that happens. Background size is often useful. Well, I mean, that seems like it did the trick. I don't think anything else is really necessary, is it? I mean, it might be a couple pixels off, but that is certainly close enough. Yeah, I was thinking more was going to be involved, but yep, so just background size contain looks like it will do quite nicely. And so that is it here for the staff pick section.